Dear listeners, welcome to another episode of our podcast series, Food for Generation. As you know, during the upcoming European JCI conference in 2022, we will tackle several subjects concerning food, and two of them are the sustainable food system and nutrition. So in this episode, I have the honor to interview Stijn Boeren, Business Development Manager and member of the Board of Directors at Avecom. Avecom is a very innovative SME which specializes in steering and optimizing microbial processes, the engineering of microbiomes, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Microbiomes, thank you, and circular economy. Mr. Boeren, Stijn, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks a lot for the invitation.
So tell me, Stijn, when I hear as a layman about microbial processes, biomass fermentation, molecular microbial tools, the first words that pop into my head are high-tech, science, sustainability, state-of-the-art R&D. But could you tell us a bit more about yourself and about Avecom? What is it that you do?
Yeah, as a background, I am a bioengineer and graduated in environmental sciences. And also Avecom is a spin-out company from the University of Ghent, from the Faculty of Bioscience Engineering. Our core business is what we call microbial resource management, which means that we use microorganisms or microbes in different applications. That can be environmental technology, soil remediation, water treatment, wastewater treatment, but can also be applied in fermentation processes to produce in a very sustainable and circular way the ingredients of the future. That can be proteins, but can also be ingredients that we use for future plastic productions, for instance.
Okay, wow, that's a whole range of products that you have.
We are a small SME. We have 10 engineers, but I always say we have billions of workers because all those microorganisms basically do the exact work.
So not a one-man army, but a
multi-billion army that will produce in a more sustainable way what we need.
Okay, interesting. So if I understand correctly, with high-tech applications, you optimize certain processes and help with treatment and cleansing of water, soil, air, and also give a second life to food and feed.
Exactly. What we see nowadays in the food industry is that they have quite some residual streams, products that do not have a very valuable application and that goes into waste or into wastewater.
Gets lost.
That is lost. And we believe that with the help of microorganisms, we can turn those components into more valuable substances. And so that means that we recycle them by upgrading them through a microbial step.
Okay, nothing goes to waste.
That is the objective, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so right now we got a clear view of what you're doing, but your mission statement, actually in a nutshell, could you tell it in a nutshell, 2-3 sentences? This is Avecom. This is what we do.
Yeah, so we use microorganisms as a tool to make the world a better, a safer place. We want to tackle a lot of industrial challenges in terms of pollution, in terms of moving towards a more circular economy. And we are very specialist in applying microbial solutions to achieve that goal.
Okay. We talked a bit about the broad scheme and broad scope of things, but you have different kind of pillars within the company. Could you divulge a bit more?
Yeah, so we started 26 years ago with environmental technology, which was a hot topic in that time. We had a lot of requests from the industry that needed to start to treat their wastewater or to they had a soil that was polluted with specific contaminants, and they asked the expertise of Professor Verstraeten, our founder, to tackle those issues. So a lot has still to be developed, and Avecom really positioned itself as an SME that has the innovation capacity to use those microorganisms to steer and optimize those processes into a way that we could solve those really the questions that those industries have. That is really the basics of the company. And since 10 years, we focus a lot more on making the processes more sustainable and more circular way, which means that we see a lot of opportunities in, for instance, the food industry and other sectors where they have residual streams of low value. And we see a lot of opportunity in upgrading those streams and making them more valuable, and we can reuse them, lower carbon footprint of companies, lower the carbon footprint of products, and things like that. That is really our core expertise nowadays.
Yeah, your core expertise, your vision, but after that kind of dream stands a great team, I suppose.
Yeah, we have a team of very experienced engineers, so we are we have a highly qualified and highly skilled team that really works in the lab and at pilot scale and with our customers to really develop those things, because everything that we do is innovative in some way, has never been done before, and needs invention or needs to be fine-tuned or optimized.
Okay. So I will ask a cheeky question. What makes you stand apart from other players in your field in the market?
Well, we differentiate ourselves a bit from the pure academical world, where there is also a lot of innovation, research and development going on. But academics are more working on fundamental issues. That is very long-term development, and they publish but things like that. But we try to use our unique expertise in collaborating with the industry on the one hand, but also to work towards commercial applications at a smaller term. And so in a couple of years, we try to bring on the market novel proteins or precursors for bioplastics, for instance. We have a smaller time frame, a smaller window, and we really want not only to develop new solutions, but to develop solutions that has a commercial value.
Yeah, so at Avecom, it doesn't stay with ideas, you put them to work.
Yeah, that is idea. We want to convert ideas in real solutions.
Yeah, you market them, and then that way we get a little bit further in the actual 21st century.
Yeah, that is the objective.
Yeah. Sounds great. Sounds great.
It's challenging, but it's very interesting.
I can imagine. So as we heard, Avecom has a clear focus on sustainable solutions and the circular economy of the 21st century. We are going to tease the audience. At EC Bruges, the European conference of JCI, we will also discuss all aspects concerning food for generations. And in this case, quite literally, because we have an enormous a population that is expanding very rapidly. How are we going to feed everyone? How will we have food for generations? Is that where Avecom's expertise in upgrading nutrients come in? Could you tease us a little bit? What are the possibilities at present and in the future?
Well, I think best what I can answer is to give you a very concrete example of a process that we have developed. We all know the challenge of the climate change, where we emit too much CO2 in the air. And microbes are capable of converting those CO2, those carbon dioxide, into biomass, into their cells. So when we use clean water, we can split clean water in oxygen gas and hydrogen gas by the process of electrolysis. I won't try not to be too technical, but basically out of clean water and green energy, we can produce two gases, and we have the availability in the air of the third gas, CO2, carbon dioxide. When we put those three gases in our reactor, a fermenter, which is a sort of a fermenter like we produce beer in Belgium, but we do not produce alcohols or beers. We produce proteins out of it, and protein is of course a very valuable source for nutritional applications, because we all know the complexity of using animal-based proteins, which is very challenging in terms of environmental issues, animal welfare, and things like that. We in the future will be able to convert CO2 into an animal-free protein, which is highly nutritious.
Okay, so capture it out of the air, out of the water, and put it to good use.
Yeah, straight out of clean water and the air, we are able to produce the nutrients of the future.
Okay. Well, I hear some bells ringing. I also hear, for example, that you cultivate certain algae. Is that also to add to certain feed and food products?
Yeah, we our main focus, our core focus is on microorganisms and the really small bacteria. But of course, algae are a typical application that is in the same line of development. Also, microalgae are capable of producing proteins or other valuable components, and that is in the same line of development as our microbial proteins, for instance.
Okay. Well, I heard you upgrade certain types of products, but I hear you can also use your applications to renew soil, to make it more vivid again, nutritious. What synonyms have you?
Yeah. Microorganisms have different applications, and we can convert waste streams into feed and food applications, but also the soil is a very important topic for Avecom. In Flanders, for instance, and also in the Netherlands, we hear quite a lot of fuss going on the nitrogen complexity within our regions, but also there microorganisms are capable to capture nitrogen, and we are able, like I explained in the food project, we are capable of capturing CO2, and basically we can then use those microorganisms of that biomass into feed and food applications, but we could also use it as an organic fertilizer, for instance. That is another type of application, because we capture the nutrients, nitrogen and phosphorus, and we capture a carbon source, and those three elements are very, very valuable in agriculture applications and in sequestering those CO2 at longer stages.
And on what scale are we talking about right now? Is it still small? The cost effectiveness of it, is it quite small at present, or is it immediately scalable?
The different lines of development are at pilot scale or at demo scale, which means we have proven the technical feasibility. What is sometimes challenging is scaling up, because it requires relatively large investments, and you have always to be competitive also with the classical solutions. An organic fertilizer is very interesting, but of course you have the classical fertilizer industry that can produce until recently at very low costs. And so always, like I said before, the commercial aspects or the cost aspects are also have to be taken into account at all cases. But yeah, the world is changing, of course. We see rising energy costs, which also means that the cost of producing the classical fertilizers is becoming more expensive, which also has then the implication that the more circular solutions like we are developing are becoming more cost competitive.
So we're getting a window of opportunity here.
We truly believe that every crisis has challenges, but also have a lot of opportunities, and we believe that what we see now at macro level is helping us to push forward the more sustainable alternatives.
Okay. So, Second Life, give us that horizon. On another topic, there's a frenzy going on right now with the corona pandemic to make everything clean, to make everything very hygienic, to shield our offices from any external factor, but aren't we overdoing it? And what's the solution there? I'm talking about natural resistance. If you shut off everything, what happens when you step outside? What does Avecom bring to the table?
Yeah, we are not a pharma company, but we truly believe that we need a natural microbiome, which means interaction between the humans and the nature that is outside. We are developing with other partners, for instance, solutions to bring in microorganisms in, for instance, office spaces. Because, like you said, cleaning is more thoroughly done than before, because we want to get rid of COVID, which is of course a very challenging has been very challenging in the last 2 years. But when you over clean, you do away the natural balance within an office, for instance. And we believe that the next step will be to rebalance the indoor microbiome, for instance. So we work on that. We have 2 lines of development there. We see natural solutions to lower or to minimize the circulation of viruses such as corona in office buildings, but we also believe that microorganisms can really help to bring let's say a more natural environment into offices, which means also overall that people are willing to go back to the office and are happier than before.
So if you had your ideal office space, if I open the door, what will I see?
You will not see anything. That is. You will hopefully you will feel it, but you will not see it. So that is a bit the trick. But it's a bit like walking in the forest and breathing the fresh air there. Also in the forest you have the trees, of course, but you have also the soil and the plants, and that gives you a very fresh and lucky feeling. An office is a very rough environment. It's very static. But when you bring in nature, then of course you could have the same efficiency.
Wow, I think a lot of our listeners are getting more enthusiastic by the second we're getting into a forest area, so to speak. This is quite an interesting feat. When I was browsing through your website, that you state that humankind produces about 300 million tons of plastic, which is roughly the weight of the entire human population. I was flabbergasted, of course. Which solutions does Avecom have to tackle this problem?
Well, we work on 2 areas. We are, as a lab, working a lot with industrial partners to prove that the new polymers that they are producing that will replace the existing polymers that they use for plastics production. We are proving that their new components, their new polymers are more biodegradable. So we have everything here in the house to do all kinds of tests to prove that, for instance, in soil or in water, new innovative polymers will be broken down by the environment. That is one thing. On the other hand, again, microorganisms are able not only to produce proteins or things like or food components, but we also can produce biopolymers that can be used in bioplastics. So that means that we are working on the field of making plastics more bio-based, which means that we can start from industrial waste streams or residual streams, that we can convert that by microbiology into ingredients for the bioplastics industry. And on the other hand, we will also prove that those new polymers are be able to be broken down into an environment, and that is really closing the loop then.
Okay, again, closing the circle.
Closing the circle is what we do.
Yeah, there's a theme here.
There's a theme here, yeah, exactly. That is...
Also, Avecom, of course, we summed up all these different kind of solutions and products. It takes a ton of R&D to get from A to Z, but... could you tell us a bit more about your research efforts and your collaboration with academic partners? How do things get done here from the very beginning to...
Yeah, so we work in 2 types of collaborations to get things done. We work first of all with industrial partners. They have a problem and they want a solution. They sometimes have an internal R&D department, but do not necessarily have the specialist skills in microbiology that Avecom can offer. So that gives them very interesting collaborations. On the other hand, we work towards solutions for the production of microbial proteins or for the precursors of bioplastics that we try to do with academic partnerships, where we are then funded by the Flemish government or by the European subsidy schemes like Horizon Europe to be able to get some funding for going towards the next step of development, really starting from lab scale. But when that works, we are starting a pilot scale trials, and then we move move forward in TRL level, what we call, we are really scaling up from a first basic approach towards commercial applicable scale.
Okay. And when you got proof of concept, when you scale it up, and then it becomes a product that is ready to launch, how do you market these ideas? Are a lot of patents involved? How does this type of product work?
Our role in this kind of partnerships is the developer of the process technology. We are specialists of the microbial interactions. We focus on that part, but of course, going towards a good end solution means the involvement of different partners. But we are working on the core of the process, which means that let the microorganisms do the work, and then together with other partners, that will be integrated in a complete solution. That means that we try to protect quite a lot our IP, our internal developments, which is logical in this world, and we try to license out then that knowledge and that expertise towards industrial partners that has more funds or has to scale up and really to produce things at very large scale.
That sounds logical.
Yeah,
sounds logical. And if I'm well informed, you also offer with your Microbial Insights Europe project, so to speak, you offer Diagnostic Solutions.
We partner with a company that's based in the States, Microbial Insights, that is doing molecular analysis. That is something that Avecom as such did not offer until a couple of years ago. But we made a very clever partnership because, of course, we have the expertise in that world. And we are working as their European hub to collect samples all over Europe. We need to pre-process them, but we have our labs here, so we can easily do that. But then we collaborate with them to send those samples then to the United States for analysis. And of course, then when the results come back to Avecom, we of course have the expertise that can then do an interpretation of the results for our customers. So that gives a very interesting collaboration, because they have the hardware to do the molecular analysis, but we do a part of the process, but also we can deliver an interpretation of the results, so we can help our customers with because we generate a lot of data in the States, but you have to do something with that data, and that is also something that Avecom can help with.
So you actually harvest a lot of know-how here. Are you fast becoming a knowledge center, or are we already there?
But we are surely a knowledge center, but of course, knowledge always has to be translated into solutions.
Yes. Putting theory to work.
Yeah, exactly.
Now we have a clear view of the company, of your team, of your millions of collaborators, so to speak. This is a podcast interview from EC Bruges, but what compelled you to partner up with a European conference? What was interesting? What lured you in?
We were contacted last year by the organizers. First of all, it's organized in Bruges, so that is very close to where we are. We are based in Ghent. I started to work within Avecom since 3 years. So in business development, we have a team of engineers here. The drawback of being an engineer is that we do not have a large team of marketeers or commercial guys that explain in an easy way what we do. And for me, I believe we are doing quite a lot of interesting things, but we sometimes do not explain that enough to the outside world, what we do, how we do, and what the progress that we make in our projects. Okay. So I think the collaboration here is very interesting, because we can show to the world what we do. We have again a very interesting biotech scene, and with a lot of large companies that are well known. We are a smaller SME, but with a lot of expertise in a very specific field. We work on the circle, making the world more circular, like I explained. We work a lot on getting a more sustainable food system. All those aspects come back into this conference.
Okay. So I can only I can only agree with you right now.
I'm lucky that you say that.
But it's true. We have 2 days at a trade show. We have collaborations with VOCA, which is a chamber of commerce here. Yep. We will draw in thousands, a very international crowd. So we're very curious how the win-wins will form during the conference. So together with you, I'm very looking forward to it.
Me too.
As you said, you're a company for and from the 21st century, and that is at present. But how do you see Avecom? Where do you see it in 10 years?
Well, the challenge is always to bring theory to practice. That is what we do here. We have quite some interesting developments that we believe are really tackling a lot of the problems that we face at the moment within the world. But the challenge will be to make them commercially viable. So in 5 to 10 years, I hope I'm really quite realistic. Not everything that we develop here will end up successfully. That would be ideally, but yeah,
let's dream.
That is a dream. But I hope at least 2 or 3 of our bigger developments will really start up and will really be used in the near future at a commercially scale, so that we can have an impact on the world in a positive way, and making it a bit more sustainable, make it a bit more circular, and that we can have at least brought a part of the solution, a part of the puzzle to make that happen.
Okay. Sounds great. Sounds great. Again, a cheeky question. Brace yourselves. What is your all-time favorite product that Avecom has put on the market? Go.
Well, a very successful product that we have brought on the market is on a topic that we have not really discussed yet. But some 20 years ago, we developed a microbial culture that is applied in aquaculture, in ponds and in aquaria. It's a very practical problem. When you put a fish in an aquarium, it will also excrete, but that can be poisonous for the fish, and so that is quite toxic. We developed a culture that can, so it's basically is an ammonia and nitrate problem. We have developed a culture of microorganisms that can easily and rapidly convert those substances in a non-toxic compound. So that is what we do. We from ammonia we make nitrate, and that means that the fish will survive, and we can help not only the small citizen that has an aquarium or that has a pond with a couple of koi, but we also help the big players like Sea Life, the zoo in Antwerp, for instance. When they have a big tank that needs to be started up, they will use the microorganisms from Avecom.
Okay, I'll remember that when I visit the zoo. We're learning. As you know, JCI, there are a lot of entrepreneurs, or wanna be, or will be entrepreneurs, as pardon my French. What is, if you can give one piece of advice to those people, to our audience, what would it be?
Well, I started my career as working in a company, in a very big company. It was Tractebel in 2001. But after a couple of years, I also felt that I would like to do more than just being part of a bigger company, and really start with my engineering background, really always wanted to change the world a bit in a more positive way, but also combining that with taking responsibility for doing that. And that is why I became an entrepreneur and started this challenge here, this adventure within Avecom, to be part of that and really working on making the world a better place, but also being by doing that by being an entrepreneur. Okay.
So actually doing what you love, putting theory to work, and making a positive change.
Exactly. That's
JCI spirit right there. Well, I learned a ton. I learned a ton today. I hope the audience, I'm sure the audience will too. And I can only hope and see what the future holds. But we'll have to wait for that a bit, because our conference is coming up in June 2022. I'm looking forward to meeting you very soon. Thanks for sharing your passion, your vision, and a great talk. I'll see you in June.
With pleasure, and thank you for the opportunity.